Hey guys, welcome to my channel. I thought it'd be fitting to do my first video of my powerlifting diaries just because I just finished my powerlifting workout. I'm into my second week and onto my second session. I've still got one more session to go. So welcome to episode 1 of Vu's Powerlifting Diaries. I want to do a quick update video or also just a video in general just because I started on this exciting sport of powerlifting and I want to use this medium as an opportunity for me to document everything because I'm so new to the sport. So in this video I'll be talking about why I started the sport, my background history with my training, and also any updates with my body composition, how I'm feeling, my diet, and all that sort of stuff. So with these series, I don't want it to be too fancy or anything like that. There's not going to be a whole lot of production value. It's pretty much just for me to keep as a diary and an archive for myself so that I can go back on and see how far I've come and also, my powerlifting journey, so to speak. This is more so for you guys, for anyone that's interested in someone that's starting on their powerlifting journey with their training and nutrition. Also for myself to look back on in the future. So I've made some notes of things that I want to cover off just so I don't miss anything. So bear with me while I go through these points. I want to start off with my why. Why did I want to start in powerlifting? The main reason is because I stopped competitive sports probably a few years ago and I still wanted to do something competitive or something challenging. Throughout high school, I've always been very athletic. I've always done athletics, cross country, swimming sports, soccer. And eventually throughout my teenage years, for the majority of it, I played a lot of soccer at a very competitive level. And so after I got injured after that, I wanted to still continue that just because I always wanted to be active and be doing something. So that's when I eventually got into kickboxing and boxing and Muay Thai for quite a number of years. I think all up was 7 or 8 years in that sport. I competed, and I think after a while I just thought, I gave it a stop because my body had enough. And then so since then I've just been going to the gym as consistent as I can be and just doing practically gym work. I was also playing futsal or indoor soccer for a little while, just once a week, but that's pretty much the majority of my activity. So I really miss that competitive edge, and hence why I've chosen the sport powerlifting to get back into something competitive. So over the last couple of years, I've really spent a lot of time and energy in perfecting my diet to a point where I'm very comfortable with it. I know in terms of, what the types of food I'm going to prepare each day or each week. I guess the variety of foods that constitutes my diet. So I'm very comfortable with that. Also in terms of being able to get all my micronutrients and my macronutrients to pretty much an optimal level. So the last couple of years I've been really working on dialing that in. Last year was pretty much the majority of my energy was focused on that. So now that I've sort of felt like I've accomplished that, I wanted to get into something where I can test my diet, so to speak, test the waters, see how my body adapts, and see if I need to make any modification. Because with last year and I guess experimenting with my diet and trying to get it to a point where I'm happy with, I really didn't have anything to test it with. Even though I was training pretty hard in the gym, 3 days a week or so, but I just feel like that wasn't enough, and there's just going to be something else that's going to be the X factor that's going to, I guess, push my body to its limits when I'm doing something that's competitive like powerlifting. I always wanted to be extremely strong relative to my body weight. It's never been a goal of mine to be as huge or as big as possible and as strong as possible, because that is just pretty much in excess, and that's just, I guess, trying to achieve absolute strength and size, and which is not my goal at all. Actually, my goal is to achieve, optimal health and longevity whilst being able to do something that complements that. So this fits into that perfectly. I always resonated with being really strong. Obviously there's something to be said about being able to lift and hoist multiples of your body weight while staying at a relatively low or lean body weight. So that really intrigued me and really got me on this journey of wanting to develop myself and my strength, so to speak. So I wanted to get involved in a sport that challenged me and wasn't detrimental to my longevity or health. And the stuff that I was doing before, soccer and kickboxing, didn't really serve that purpose, because with soccer there's a lot of running around, so it's not really the best for your joints. And also there's a lot of extraneous variables like getting tackled and getting injured that really sort of got me to step away from that a bit, just because I've know too many people that have had like knee surgeries, knee reconstructions, torn Achilles and all that sort of stuff. So it's not really a sport that is complementary to longevity. And also boxing, kickboxing, Muay Thai, as you all know, it's a super competitive, and it's a combat sport. That means that your aim is to beat on your opponent. So smashing, each other's skulls around. After a while, it didn't sound like such a good idea for me, and so I sort of stepped away from that and decided to give that a break. Even though I've gotten so much out of it in terms of my self-confidence, skills that I'll pretty much have for life, but then it just wasn't something that was going to serve my ultimate goal, which is to live a long and a healthy life. So powerlifting fitted perfectly into that, I'm not sacrificing my joint health, I'm not sacrificing my brain health, and also inhibiting one of the biggest killers of people of old age, which is sarcopenia, and which is very prevalent, especially in older women, which is the wastage of muscle, I guess, due to all these downregulation of metabolic processes that happens as you age. So in terms of powerlifting, maintaining strength, upregulating your power, and also putting on or even maintaining a sizable amount of pretty much dry, pure muscle fibers, that was very enticing for me, so to speak. So it meant that it was a sport that was really fitted into that ultimate aims of mine, which once again is, living a long and a healthy life where my joints and my brain wasn't at detriment. And I really love that the sport, it means that I have full control over my result. So that means in terms of my recovery, my diet, my training, pretty much everything I do, I'm 100% responsible for. And I really like that, because I'm the type of person that likes to take 100% accountability. So in terms of any results that manifest from this training, this powerlifting, is pretty much all of my doing. In terms of if I'm not recovering properly, or if I'm getting some sort of niggling injuries or tightness, it probably means that I'm not doing something correctly. So therefore I can go in and make these micro tweaks and change it, and then observe the results thereafter. That for me is super exciting. And it's such a cool prospect that I'm able to modulate and tweak as I go, just because I have that 100% accountability. For example, if my body is not recovering properly, I would probably think of down-regulating my training volume or intensity, or modulating something with my diet. I don't know exactly what it is yet, but when I hit there, then I've got these things in mind that I will sort of implement should I need to. If I ever get to, like, I guess a plateau, or like some sort of reduction in my recovery. So when I get there, it'll be really cool, because I get to experiment with my body, my diet, my training, all that sort of stuff is a super exciting prospect for me. And in terms of my diet, just secretly, it's a stand for veganism and masculinity, just because people have this stigma that, that if you're on a plant-based diet, you're on a vegetarian diet, you cannot thrive, you cannot build muscle or anything like that. So I hated that from the very start. And so when I went vegan, probably would have been 5 years ago, once I understood the possibility of being able to maintain muscle, being able to build muscle, get stronger, recover quicker, that's all I need to know, and the rest I was going to figure out myself, just because, you know, it's not impossible. I'm not the first person that's doing this. To get into this sport of powerlifting, the main goal is power, and I think that's in a lot of people's mind is lacking in a person who subsists on a plant-based diet, is the lack of strength, the lack of power. So somewhat, you know, cheekily, I want to be a stand for that, and also to break the stereotype, and also to show, hey, that you can thrive on a vegan diet. You can achieve, you know, athletic feat, great athletic feat on a plant-based diet, and whilst being, I guess, cruelty-free and not harming the animals as well. So just secretly, I don't think this is anything that I've ever mentioned to anyone before, but I just, you know, a part of my notes, I had it down that, you know, that this is somewhat a stand for veganism, and also the stereotype, the stigma that people have on dudes and girls that subsist on a plant-based diet. Also, one really small thing is I had a shallow strength goal. I don't know why, but my strength goal, and it's a shallow one, is to bench press 100 kilos for 6 good reps. I don't know why I had that goal. Mainly, if I was to really think about it, I think the reason why I had that goal because it's a cool number, 100 kilos, bench press, 6 reps. Who's not going to be impressed with that, right? Especially at my weight, which is currently, you know, 70 and a half kilos or so. So if I could keep that weight and bench press 100 kilos for 6 reps, I think that's pretty impressive. But I also really think deep down inside, the chest, in terms of anything bench press or press, has always been my sort of my weakest body part. So in terms of me wanting to challenge myself, I think that would really be a milestone for me to be able to hit that, just because I'm so weak in the upper body that for me to achieve that, it feels like an actual accomplishment, just because at the moment I'm really strong lower body wise, like squats, deadlift. So it's not really an achievement for me or to hit milestone or anything like that. But for the bench press, I'll be absolutely over the moon and wrapped if I achieve that goal. And it's a goal that I've had for a long time, pretty much since I started strength training. And it's just stuck in my mind, but I've really never worked towards it or did anything to work towards that goal before. Whereas now with starting powerlifting, I feel like I'm making progress to get stronger, and I'm doing specific things to help me get stronger to eventually to get that to that goal. So even already by starting powerlifting, I feel like I'm getting closer to that goal already, and I'm pretty rapt to be sharing with you guys my journey, and also to share when I actually hit that goal, because I think that'll be pretty cool. All right, let's do week 1 and 2 in review, because I've done week 1, week 2 of training already. I want to give you guys an insight, and also my future self an insight in terms of how I'm feeling right now after 2 weeks of my initial phase of my powerlifting training. And once again, I've got some notes down, so I'm just going to go through them. The first one is I noticed that it's a lot of lower body stuff. It's very lower body intensive, more than I actually thought. And when I thought about it after the first week, I'm like, yeah, it makes sense, because you got the squat, the deadlift, and the bench press, and 2 of those exercises are pretty much lower body. So it makes sense that, 2/3 of the exercise that you have to compete in is lower body, that the training is going to be more lower body intensive. Duh. So yeah, so my lower body took a beating, especially the first week. Like my legs, like on a Monday when I did like my squat routine to Friday when I do my deadlift routine, my legs were still sore as. And I was like, this has never happened to me before where I'm this sore for this long. So it was very humbling, and but I just took it, as the day went on, and just know that my body was going to adapt with this sort of training. So that's the thing that I've accepted, that a lot of things are going to be unfamiliar, but soon after I will get used to the training, my body will adapt, and eventually will get stronger. So I'm doing a lot of exercise that I'm not used to or comfortable with, and it's really hurting my ego because I wouldn't say I'm a newbie trainer. Like, previously in my past life, I was a personal trainer, so I got some basic sort of idea in terms of what I'm doing, and I've been strength training, for a number of years now. Whereas now going to powerlifting, especially with a coach, is critiquing so much of my technique and also so much of my weakness and my flaws that it's really hurting my ego. But, ego aside, I have to understand that this is all part of my development. My growth is to pretty much to find my weak parts and target that and bring them up to level with everything else. So, once I understood that, I can really, get over the fact that I'm so weak and so pathetic when it comes to lifting properly, that now I guess I can just focus on improving and getting better. So there's a lot of exercises that I'm not familiar with, that I'm learning for the first time. So it's very, very humbling, and it's something that is really amazing as well, as being able to learn something new, because after a while, when you're doing something for so long, you get comfortable and you get complacent and you get bored, so to speak. And that's where I was pretty much with, like, once I stopped competitive boxing, kickboxing, I was just training in the gym, and after a while you get bored. You don't really, what is the purpose of training? Obviously to maintain and to train so that I can eat. I'm just kidding. That's not the full reason. It's part of the reason. After a while, you sort of just lose that motivation, and it's good to have a purpose, and to know and to learn new things again. And some of the weaknesses that I've really noticed, and even the coach noticed with our first session together, is pretty much my left shoulder. It's lagging behind, it's weak, and one of the reason, or the main reason why it's weak, is because I got injured. I injured it probably a number of years ago, pretty much doing kickboxing and also mixed martial arts. I remember one time when pretty much I got held in this position and I got pretty much dumped and landed on my shoulder, and then my shoulder was dead for like weeks. And then even then, like, throwing jabs was still fatiguing for my shoulder. So it's a weakness that I've had many years ago, but then after some sort of training, I've sort of strengthened it back up, but it's still not 100%. So I think that was very noticeable in my assessment with my powerlifting coach. So it's something that we're going to work on in terms of building that unilateral strength. So not just both motion, but just the one side, getting that up to speed with this one so that I can improve my overall lift and my strength, and that I am not compromising, the other shoulder because this one is weaker or anything like that. And it can create a lot of imbalances in the body. Another thing that I've been told, which I sort of had an idea, is my upper thoracic area was like super tight. So much so that a lot of the strength and the force that I was driving from in the squat and also in the bench press was from the lower back region. So I had like this lower back where a lot of force was put onto that, where it wasn't distributed across my upper spine and thoracic area, just because that was super tight. So the last 2 weeks I spent a lot of time pretty much just rolling it out, you know, massaging it out, and man, it is tight. And already I can see an improvement in terms of my range of motion and my flexibility in my upper back, and how that's affecting the way I approach each of the exercises. So super wrapped for that little progress already, and also for the coach for bringing it to my attention. And hopefully, yeah, it will continue to loosen up and start to serve me in the different exercises that I do. Another thing that's way different, not way different, but a little bit different, is the duration of the training. It's so much longer than what I'm used to. You know, when I was training previously on my own, I had a very minimalist approach when it comes to training. Like, I pretty much wanted to get in the gym and get out, sort of thing. Like, I wasn't there to make friends. I wasn't there to speak to people or anything like that. For me, personally, maybe it'll change now that I've started powerlifting training, but I didn't really enjoy going to the gym. For me, it feels like a chore that I actually, you know, after building a consistent habit of going to the gym, sort of gotten used to, and it didn't require a lot of willpower after that. But for me, I don't necessarily enjoy going to the gym, so my goal was always to go in, get in and get out, sort of thing. So my training sessions used to be from 45 minutes to an hour tops. Now with the powerlifting training, it's so much more comprehensive. There's so much more things I have to do, like warming up, so many different other auxiliary and accessory exercises that I have to do that will help to strengthen my main lift, being the bench, the deadlift, and the squat. It's so much more time consuming. So previously a session would take me 45 minutes to an hour. Now it's taking me at least an hour 15 to an hour and a half to get through everything. And I don't think that's even including the warm-up part of it, which is like some stretches, some foam rolling, and that sort of stuff. Yeah, it's really taking a bit more extra of my time, but that's okay. I know that I'm new to it, and hence that's why things are taking longer. I think I'll be able to get more efficient at it as I get used to the exercise more, and I'm not going to the gym pretty much like a lost person signing up for the first day, don't know what they're doing, sort of thing. Yeah. So I'm also still training 3 days a week, and that's something that I specifically requested of my program. When I spoke to my powerlifting coach, I said, hey, at the moment I'm training 3 days a week, just because, once again, I want to keep it to a minimal as much as possible, just because
ain't nobody got time for that.
You know, my schedule outside of that is pretty hectic in terms of work and other commitments and that sort of things. So I wanted to just keep it once again to a minimal, so 3 days a week. So that's how it was programmed initially for me anyway, with this first block of my powerlifting training. And then I guess after that, he said roughly it might go up to 4 days based on how I'm feeling with things. But then I don't think, you know, he would even go anything above that, just because he, in terms of his mentality, which I really admire and really like, is that he's very conservative, and he's also big on injury prevention. So in terms of exercise and things like that, there's definitely no ego involved in his training, and there's never been ego involved in my training at all. I'm all about getting the right technique, and I'm very pedantic about it, and I'm glad that he is as well, and pretty much getting that down right or down pat before I move on to another weight or a heavier weight or anything like that. So definitely no ego lifting when it comes to my powerlifting program or anything like that. I want to make sure I get the technique 100% spot on before I move on or anything like that, because my health and my longevity is too great to pretty much to compromise on ego lifting. So definitely none of that at all. Anyways, that's the first week 1 and week 2 of my powerlifting diary vlog concluded. I hope you enjoyed that. It'll be really cool for me to look back down the track as well in terms of how my body transforms and also how I'm feeling about everything as my training progresses. And if you liked that sort of video and you enjoy my content with some other videos I made previously as well, give me a like, subscribe to my channel. My goal is to make these powerlifting videos, these powerlifting diary entries pretty much once a week until I pretty much get sick of making it, which hopefully I don't, because I think it's a really, really cool tool to have to be able to document my journey in this newfound sport, and to see how I develop as an athlete, as a person, and also see how my diet develops with it as well. I'm moving my hands too much. Anyways, thank you so much. I appreciate you guys for actually bringing up this video and watching it. It makes me feel not like a loser, and that people actually care about what I have to say. But if not, Mum, I appreciate you. You may or may not be watching. Yeah, peace. And I forgot to, I guess, film my body in terms of what I look like, my body composition, all that. So I'll give you a quick snap. It's currently my body shape, size. I currently weigh around, why am I talking in pounds? I'm freaking Australian. 70 and a half to 71 kilos. That's what I've been the last 6 months or so. So I've been pretty stable around that. Be interesting to see how my body changes in terms of weight, muscle, body composition, all that, as I get deep into my powerlifting training. So stay tuned. Thank you again. I'll catch you later.